Hello everyone, and welcome back to Conspiracy, featuring my dog, Lily. Say hi, Lily. She's a sweetheart. Aw, there's a sweet little baby. Look at her, she's so cute. Lily, you're so cute. She's just sleepy all the time. All she wants to do is sleep. She sleeps under my desk. Anyway, with the dog introduction out of the way, welcome back to Conspiracy. This week, we're going to be talking about something that my dad actually suggested, the legend himself, Bob Lazar. According to Wikipedia, he's a conspiracy theorist and a self-proclaimed physicist, which, as you know, makes me believe him more. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with me today, and let's get into it. Since 1989, Bob Lazar has been in the public eye for his stories of Area 51 and aliens. In May of that year, he appeared in an interview on a Las Vegas TV station under the pseudonym Dennis. With his face hidden, he discussed his purported employment at S4, a subsidiary facility he claimed existed near the Nellis Air Force Base installation known as Area 51. He claimed that the site consisted of concealed aircraft hangars built into a mountainside. He said that his job was to reverse engineer one of the 9 flying saucers that he claimed were extraterrestrial in origin. He claimed that one of the flying saucers was manufactured out of a metallic substance similar in appearance and touch to liquid titanium. In a follow-up interview that November, he appeared unmasked and used his real name, Bob Lazar, where he claimed that at his job interview for work at the facility was via a contractor and his employer was the United States Navy. He claimed that the propulsion of the studied vehicle ran on an antimatter reactor and was fueled by the chemical element with atomic number 115, which at the time was named unpendium and had not yet been artificially created. It was, however, artificially created in 2003. He said that the propulsion system relied on a stable isotope of 115, which allegedly generates a gravity wave that allowed the vehicle to fly and evade visual detection by bending light around it. Lazar said that the craft was dismantled and the reactor he studied was topped by a sphere or a semisphere which emitted a force field capable of repulsing human flesh, and that the craft was split into 2 main levels. The reactor was positioned at the center of the upper level with an antenna extending to the top surrounded by 3 gravity amplifiers. These would connect to gravity emitters on the lower level, which can rotate 180 degrees to output a gravity beam or anti-gravity waves. He also said that the craft would then travel belly first into the distortion field, causing it to fly. In 1989, he said that the seats of the saucer that he saw were approximately child-sized and that he had seen alien cadavers of a corresponding size. He said that while he was walking down a hallway at S4, he briefly glanced into a door window and saw what he interpreted as 2 men in lab coats facing down and talking to something small with long arms. 3 decades later, he said that he did not think he saw an alien then, but a doll used as reference for the size of the alleged aliens. He said that after he came out, his employment and education records were erased. Weird things began happening to and around Bob Lazar after he made these claims. After his initial interview under the alias Dennis, his supervisor at S4, who was named Dennis, said he wanted to meet with him in the evening. He said he didn't want to meet at Bob's house and arranged to meet him at one of the casino bars downtown. When Bob showed up, Dennis was there but would not acknowledge him. According to Bob, Dennis ignored him, wouldn't look him in the eyes, and said nothing to him. When Bob stood in front of Dennis, Dennis just walked around him. According to Bob, Dennis called him 11 days later, sounding angry and threatening. He told Bob that they weren't going to allow him to complete his project. At this point, Bob said that he volunteered to go public and retract all that he said, to which Dennis responded, "It's too late for that now, we're going to kill you." Bob later claimed that he was chased by a car for 20 minutes and that his adrenaline was so high that he felt like vomiting the whole time. Later the next month, November of 1989, Bob said that the government broke into his house and took element 115 and 2 other unknown materials. Bob Lazar had a friend named Joe Vaninetti who kept a journal at this time, and a lot of the info that we had just said came from his journal. What Joe said about the government break-in is, quote, "Things are starting to get spooky. I expect to be visited soon. I've hauled most of my valuable things out of the house. I'm worried that Bob could get killed. I'm worried that I could lose my clearance and my job. We're in too deep to back out now." Do you want to hear a real conspiracy? Roughly 50% of all my viewers are not subscribed. That's 50% of people, that's half of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. today. Bob's skeptics say that he made up all of this info, his credentials, etc. They point out that there is no proof that he went to college, or that he was a practicing physicist, or that he ever worked for the government. However, there are old interviews where people read W-2s or talk to employers confirming that he did in fact work for them. He has also passed a few lie detector tests. When he was talking about the UFO and how it flew, he described it as being able to rotate mid-air, then flying with the bottom forward. This actually lines up with the gimbal UFO footage that the Pentagon released in 2017. The video, for those of you who are unaware, is footage of a UFO taken by naval pilots off the coast of Florida in 2015. In the video, the UFO turns mid-air against the wind without deacceleration. This implies a craft without rotors and obviously without a tail that moves in a way that is something that we're not familiar with our current aeronautical knowledge. When Bob Lazar saw this footage, he said that it had to be a gravity-propelled craft, which mimics that propulsion system that he described from the UFO decades earlier. The military came to the belief that the UFOs that had been filmed by the Department of Defense recently relied on special metamaterials, which are materials that can't be made with known technology. Bob Lazar made the same claim decades ago and was ridiculed. However, now the Pentagon agrees with him. Bob Lazar was on the Joe Rogan podcast in 2019 and revealed some good information. He said that when he took the job at S4, he didn't know what he was getting into, and he didn't realize that the UFO that he first saw was actually a UFO. He's quoted as saying, "This time that I went in, there were hangar doors open. I went in through the hangar door, and in the hangar door was a disc, the flying saucer that I worked on. I saw it sitting there and we walked by it and it had a little American flag stuck on the side, and I thought, oh my god, this finally explains all the flying saucer stories. This is just an advanced fighter and it's effing hilarious. So I went by, I stood my hand alongside it, and I got reprimanded immediately for touching the thing. There was an armed guard that followed us in and said, keep your eyes forward and your hands at your side and just walk in the door." He also claimed that he got a job at S4 by an accident that caused a death at the facility, replacing someone who had died. He said that he believes the accident involved the scientists trying to cut into the saucer's reactor. He said that the inside of the UFO had a very ominous feeling and that everything is the same dark pewter color. He claims that there are no right angles anywhere and everything looks fused together. Bob went on to say that the only thing he recognized on the spacecraft was a hatch and that everything else was alien to him. He said he believes that at least one of the UFOs is ancient and is quoted as saying, "At least one of them was part of an archaeological dig, so it's old. At least one of them is old. I don't know if it was the one I worked on, but I remember something to do with an archaeological dig. That means it's not just old, it's ancient." He claims that he makes no money from any of this, so if he's not making any money, what's the point of him telling these tales? He said that when Rogan offered to buy his plane ticket to be on the podcast, he turned it down and bought his own ticket. When the Bob Lazar documentary came out, he made about $2,000 from it, but he donated it all to the science programs at local high schools. Well, earlier I said that he passed a lie detector. There are a few ways to do this. Either not be lying, or to truly believe that you're not lying. Well, kind of. I mean, everyone knows that lie detectors aren't reliable anyway. Anyway, the question comes into play, is Bob telling the truth, or is he not, but genuinely believes that he is? Is it possible that he's schizophrenic or has some other mental disorder that makes him believe that everything he is saying is true? Is it possible that he's a generational liar? It's hard to say he's lying because the stories remained consistent throughout the decades, never changing. If someone is lying, the hardest part of maintaining the lie is to keep your story straight. So if he is lying, then he is a generational liar. So with that information, what do you think? The government has done worse than try to discredit a man by wiping out his info of his workplace and schooling history. I mean, heck, look at MKUltra and Operation Northwoods, perhaps both topics for another day. But the point is, the government has done much worse than just get rid of some documents to discredit someone. Do you think Bob's telling the truth about Area 51 and UFOs? Do you think he's crazy, maybe schizophrenic? Or is he a generational liar? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.